Episode 137 Above Ground Podcast, Strength in Numbers.
Disclaimer. The hosts of this podcast, Timothy Patrick and Will Foley, are by no means medical professionals. However, having lived experience with mental illness themselves, they have gained useful perspectives on common mental health issues that some of us struggle to overcome on a daily basis. By sharing their stories, they hope to create connection. By creating connection, they hope to help you find your purpose. And through purpose, we can all begin to build the foundation for positive mental health. This is Above Ground Podcast.
Are you ready to lace up your boots, throw up your horns, and jump into the pit? Then let's stomp the stigmas of mental illness. It's time for Above Ground Podcast. Now, Will Foley and Timothy Patrick.
Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to episode 137 of Above Ground Podcast.
Above Ground Podcast because you can't serve below.
You know who that is? You down with TPP?
Yeah, you know me.
Yeah, you know me. What's up, Timmy?
What's up?
Dude, we're into the new year now, man. We're almost a month in, and it's going by fast again already, man.
It's all right. I'll take it.
Yeah, me too. Winter's got to get out of here. I need spring. I got spring fever already. I'm like, every time we pass over those holidays, I'm like, okay, I'm looking forward to spring. Like the dark days, getting up in the dark, going home in the dark.
Yeah,
I don't like any of it.
Yeah, that can get dark.
It can get dark. It is dark.
It is
But
dark.
you know what isn't dark?
What?
Character strengths.
Character strengths.
Yeah, we're all about tools here on Above Ground Podcast, and we were chit-chatting about some different ideas to do, and we kind of came up with this idea about choosing some character strengths. Each of us chose some character strengths, and we're going to have a talk about it, because I think that we have to look at our character strengths just as much as we look at our flaws. I find myself looking at my flaws more than my character strengths and my strengths.
Yeah,
and I get caught in that pit of despair sometimes. But I think if we flip the switch now in 2022, where it's like we got to look at the positives too, man. You know, we're still here, we're still above, we're still going, we're still chugging on, man. The crazy train is still rolling.
Yeah, that's a positive for sure.
Yeah, and I got this sheet from, there's a 2004 book that was written by Chris Peterson and Martin Seligman called Character Strengths and Virtues. And they identified 24 character strengths. And I was going through this list because it was part of some peer stuff that I was reviewing and looking at that I had downloaded and stuff through one of my binders. And I was like, we don't really talk about strengths very much. And I'm like, I think we should, because I think we need to turn over a new leaf and start looking at the positive things. Just as much as we look at the negative.
Yeah.
So
Can't hurt, right?
No, absolutely not, man. I'm kind of curious to know what you chose, because we looked at the same sheet, and I'm kind of curious to see if we crossed over any of the same paths.
I like I said, I chose 6 total. I chose 3 that I feel are important things that are important to help people succeed in life, to I guess have a better, less stressful, less suffering in your life, a less bumpy path. And those 3 are self-control, social intelligence, and bravery.
Huh. Wow.
And for myself, because I felt like these fit me, and these are things that are more important to me, are self-control, humor, and integrity.
Integrity, that's a tough one for me, because when you hear about what integrity really is, it's being the whole person. It's being your true self. Mm-hmm. It's hard to know your true self until you've really done the excavating to talk about And it's like integrity is the thing that I need the most, and I can't seem to quite work most. I don't feel integrated all the time.
It's all right.
And I love those. I will say this. I chose creativity.
Yeah, that was on there, but I was like,
hope, and wisdom as my as 3. But I also have forgiveness, and obviously gratitude. Gratitude gets a lot of play. Okay, gratitude is a big buzzword, but I understand why it's important. And one of the things that I didn't realize I was really picking was spirituality, because I'm starting to forge my own spiritual path finally once again, and unity helps bring that together, and maybe unity will bring integrity. I don't know, but
yeah, that's possible. You know, maybe you struggled with it because it had to bring it to this point, and then through this you'll have a better understanding and comprehension of it, I guess.
Absolutely. But I love the fact that you chose humor.
Yeah.
Because I think humor is very important.
It is. For me, it is. You know, it's I hate to use this term because I feel like people use it a lot, but it's contagious. But it really is. Like, it's just contagious. It's like, especially like, not only if you hear like a good joke or a funny story, but like sometimes somebody's laugh can be so funny that you laugh at just the sound of their laughter.
I find that, and maybe you find this too, I'm sure, with your own child, that their laughter is just like some of the best things ever, because it's just,
for sure,
you know, and they're happy and laughing, and it makes you just, you know, warm.
He'll be in on the Xbox, and he'll be playing with one of his friends, you know, with the headset. So he doesn't, you know, he's not really paying attention to me in the other room, but I can hear him, and he's like laughing and just, you know, the way he laughs and like when you can tell when he's having fun, and it's just like that feeling. It kind of injects into me, and I'm like, whoo, I kind of feel it now. Like, you know what I mean? It kind of puts you in a better mood.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I listen to a lot of stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
I do. I listen to a lot of stand-up comedy. The new Jay Moore record is pretty funny. As much as it's not really funny, it is funny. But humor, like, you know, humor is very important, man. And you can't, and again, especially when it comes to heavy topics like this.
Exactly.
Not everything has got to be serious, man.
Right. And I think especially again for heavier topics like this, I think it's, you know, when you're trying to, you know, get a point across or educate somebody, I think this can help it become more relatable. You know, it can ease somebody into it instead of, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I don't really know about this subject, and I know some of it might be taboo, so I don't know how to, you know, to act or react, or, you know what I mean? It's like, and if you throw some humor in there, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, I can get into this.
Yeah, humor brings levity. It brings everything down a little bit, and it's like, okay, it's not so heavy, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
Because, you know, again, most heavy subjects don't require more heaviness. No. They require some humor sometimes, quite honestly. Right, yeah, some lightness, some lightheadedness or lightness. Not lightheadedness. Then you pass out.
For sure.
So I'm curious to know what your definition of some of these is, because I'm curious to know what your definition of bravery is.
My definition of bravery.
Yeah, like, what do you look at as brave?
I think no matter what you think, no matter what the outcome might be, you still do it. You know, you go up against something, and maybe knowing or not knowing, and you say to yourself, this is going to be tough, but you do it, and you just forge ahead, and you either try or you do it, you know?
Yeah, I get it. I guess bravery is just like marching in, and
because that's a big part of it, right? It's like a lot of people maybe don't, you know, make it to level 3 because they look at it and they go, well, I'm not even going to bother to try because it's not for me, or it's too hard, or it's complicated, and you know what? I'm just not going to put the effort in for whatever reason, which is fine. It doesn't mean you're a bad person, but the people that make that effort, then they go, wow, Jesus, I made it to 2. I'm going to try it for 3. Oh, I made it to 3. I'm going to try it to 4.
Sure.
It's like, I guess that could be contagious too.
Well, it can, because it can actually help you. It
Right.
can build momentum,
Right.
because that's what we've learned, that the only way to get out of the hole is to build momentum. But in order to build momentum, you have to get moving, and in order to get moving, you have to stop whatever the freight train is that's coming at you.
Right.
And that's a multi-layered thing, and you have to take it step by step. But once you do get the car back on the side of the road, and my car is still on the side of the road. I don't think I've quite moved yet, but my car is still on the side of the road. It's had a couple flat tires. It was flooded. The engine was flooded,
But as you change the tires, then you go, okay, well, that's behind me now. Now I can, get in, start her up, I guess, and see what,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, it's funny because when I was in Four Winds, they called it mastery, which maybe it's not the best term, but whatever, that's what it's called. So mastery, and which doesn't mean you have to master something, but try it, and they really pushed like to try something, and like I remember the one time when I started to kind of feel a little bit better and kind of say, you know what, I'm going to go home and try something. I went home and I made eggs in a basket.
I remember you saying that. I remember you telling me
And I was
kind
of, but it worked. I was like, I actually did it, and I was like, oh, that's not bad. I kind of did it, and it again, it was kind of lifting me up a little bit. So
right, mastery isn't necessarily mastering something,
right,
but it's working towards mastering something.
Right.
It's a practice that builds momentum.
Right. And I think, bravery can be that first step into that to gain momentum.
I think you need bravery to say that you're going to start. And that's strong. I don't really look at bravery that way. I don't think, because I don't know why. I don't know.
That's all right. Well,
I don't necessarily find myself to be brave. You know what I mean? I don't because this, some people may say it's brave of us to talk about this, but I don't look at this as bravery. This is just me being who I am.
Right. And
for me, it's more of being authentic, because I think that authenticity is maybe not on this, but I think it is part of a character strength.
I think being your authentic self is being brave, and it's having integrity. I think it's all kind of combined. I think.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
I mean, being your authentic self is you're speaking your truth and you're sticking to it. You know what I mean? This is, like you said, this is part of me, and it's not all of me, and it doesn't define me. It doesn't control me, but it is a part of me, and I'm accepting this part. Right. And this is, I'm showing it to everybody. This is it.
Self-control. I'm not surprised that comes up as one of your things, because you are kind of a, pull yourself up by.
Well, yeah, but I mean, for me, it's not that I wasn't really looking at it as that angle. I was looking at it more as, being able to, control your emotions, control your reactions. I think it's such an important skill, and it's not just because it's important to me and because I struggle with it, but it's just one of those things that it can make a world of difference in a minute, in a millisecond. You know what I mean? With whatever choice that, you know what I mean? If you have that choice in that split second to make a choice to do this or this, you could, I mean? It's a world of difference. You know what I mean?
It does, because that self-control will stop you from saying the wrong thing.
Right.
Or making the wrong decision.
Right.
So I totally get that. And self-control is, and oftentimes self-control is hard to have.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're faced with, what you view as maybe an insurmountable task, or, and especially if you're, you get caught in a loop, it's, an insurmountable task that may not be something to somebody else is
right. As long as if you feel like it is, then it is. Then don't worry about, you know what I mean? Don't compare it to somebody else's task. It's like, that's what's in front of you. And if it's hard for you, then that's brave for you to go, you know what? Like, this is hard for me. I'm going to attempt it, but I can stand here and say that this is hard for me, and I can't really do this, but I'm going to continue to attempt and try it.
Yeah, that actually kind of defines integrity to me too a little bit, I think.
And I try to do that. I really do. And I think just recently kind of stepped more into it, because I've realized that there's things that I guess I'll say I kind of can't do. I don't know if that's the correct word, but like I like to try and put myself into situations that I know is hard for me, and I like to try to almost like exposure therapy, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But sometimes I can't, and but that's part of it for me, is I have to stand back and go, you know what? I can't do this either right now, or I can't do this in this environment, in this setting, and accept it and go, it doesn't mean I'm weak. It doesn't mean, this or that. It just means that I can't do it at this moment right now. That's it.
Yeah, I've always struggled with that, because I feel like I should be able to do
things,
man.
That's exactly right. And I've just recently started to let go, because I used to, and that's it. It's like you're already suffering over this one, situation in front of you, and then when you step back, you're adding another, 2, 3, 4 more sufferings because of what you're saying to yourself. Like, I should be able to do this. Why can't I do this? Damn, I wish I could do this.
Right.
It's like, dude,
right.
How many anchors are you going to tie to your ankles?
Yeah. How many Jacob Marleys you going to carry around with you?
It's like, how many Ghosts of Christmas Past you want to meet tonight? Come on. But yeah, that's for me. And I've just like I said, I think I've just kind of started to let go a little bit more and just say, like, well, this is it. I know kind of my limit. I'd like to be able to try and do it longer, or be in the situation and handle it better. But right now, I think what's best is knowing that I can't. Because again,
that takes some strength and bravery to say that you can't too.
Yeah.
Because we have a habit in this society of not saying what we can't handle.
Right. Like, I can handle it and push somebody aside, and then you go to handle it and you don't handle it, and then whatever dirt is on your hand, that's on your hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes things worse sometimes.
Right. And then you know what I mean. So instead of saying like, hey, you know what, step back and going, look, I don't think this is right. I can't do this right now. It's way more it's a way better scenario than pushing somebody aside. I can do this, or telling myself, yeah, do this, because if you don't do this, you're weak, and then you do it, and then you're in a worse position than you were before.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like,
it leaves you very susceptible to being in a bad position.
Yeah.
I like that, man. That was pretty cool. Social intelligence. I think social intelligence now is becoming more apparent.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we've had much social intelligence and I think social intelligence is kind of going out the window in a lot of ways.
I was just about to say that it kind of is, but
I mean, for people who do things like we do and are out there, like where you're like learning about social intelligence and emotional intelligence and all that kind of stuff, like these weren't things that we were taught. But these are things that we have to learn, because we realize that, wow, this is really what it is, because this isn't working anymore. So you got to be a little bit more intelligent, and you got to, and that there's some bravery in the intelligence parts too, because again, like you just said, you got to know what you don't know.
Right.
And you got to be willing to say that you don't know, or you're going to find out about it.
Or just willing to accept it later on and go, like, look back on our first season or whatever, our first year of doing this, and go, geez, wow, I can't believe I said that, or wow, I wish I did this differently. But like, it is what it is. Like, we were learning, and we're still learning.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, what we're doing is learning, and we're in that process of learning.
Right, and I think, like, especially for us, like those first 60 episodes were, there's a lot of learning in those, and and I can clearly see that the growth here as far as our conversations and just in our interactions in the world and what we're able to do, and
but
even
I think,
just being better people at
but I think what we're able to do now is because of those 60 episodes or whatever it was.
Right. Well, it's absolutely, and it's also part of that. It's also part of wisdom to know that you can learn, and that wisdom is, which is one of my things, is wisdom, because wisdom to me is
big.
Is super important, but it's what you do with that, because it doesn't really become wisdom until you put it into practice.
Yeah. I agree.
It's insight, and then it's the integrating the insight, and that's what becomes wisdom.
Yeah, that is an important one. There's one on there too towards the end, like love of learning, I think it was, or something.
Yeah, love of learning.
That's a good one too. I think that, that drive, or that stay hungry type feeling of
stay hungry
of what kind of, I guess maybe wisdom can even come into play, like having that wisdom to say, I'm going to keep learning on this. This is a topic I like, or this is a topic that I want to know more about. I'm going to keep learning on it.
Well, and that kind of actually plays into the curiosity part, because and curiosity was not one of my choices, but curiosity is super important.
Did you say your third one?
I for me, it's hope, creativity, and forgiveness.
Okay.
And forgiveness is not something that I have. I have so much to learn about forgiveness. And especially when it comes to forgiveness of self and forgiveness of other people. And if I find it very easy to forgive other people more than it is myself, because I blame myself for things
it's funny
that
because
aren't even mine to blame myself
because
for.
They're both, I think, for you, really, both of them. Like forgiving others and forgiving yourself is both like for you.
Yeah, they are, and but it's a practice. Like,
look,
forgiveness is definitely a practice, and. Luckily in Buddhism, there's a lot of practices like the Heart Sutra and all those things that help with forgiveness, but you also have to put those into practice. And I have not. I've kind of steered away from my Buddhism readings for a while just because I've been reading other stuff. But
I think actually, let me ask you, because that's one of your words. Do you think that you have to like acknowledge and heal, and then you can forgive? Or do you think that you can forgive kind of?
I think it's acknowledgement, and then it's forgiveness, and then it's healing.
Okay.
Because I don't think that you can forgive unless it's acknowledged.
Right.
So it makes it hard.
You can forgive before you're healed, you think?
You have to forgive in order to heal yourself, I feel.
Okay.
Because I don't think that you can heal without forgiving first. And unfortunately, like, it's a practice that is very hard to master. And it's not that's not a mastery that I may not even attain that in this life, man. I don't know if I will. And if that's that's one of my karmic debts that I have to come back and repay, I think
by trying, obviously you're doing, and I don't know if you can actually like forgive in a bad way, unless you kind of like falsely do it, like tell yourself, and you're not really forgiving.
Yeah, it's forgiveness is a tough one, and I don't.
What's it say on there?
For forgiveness, it says forgiving those who've done wrong, accepting people's shortcomings. And I think that maybe part of it is understanding that you can accept people's shortcomings. Because I totally accept, I totally accept the fact that there's factors beyond my control, beyond people's control. But it's hard to forgive when it's they know it's there. You know what I mean? And that's a tough part of, that's mastery, if you can do that.
Right. And I think there's a little variable to that is boundaries, because boundaries could could be more like the barrier. Like, you know what I mean? Where that's where it should stop. And sometimes they break through the boundaries and then they do something. And then you're like, oh, I want to forgive you. But like, you should know, but like, you know what I mean? So there's some like, you know, that's tricky.
It's hard though when you should, because you can should all over yourself.
Right.
And that, like, I should do this. You should have been this. You should have been there.
Right.
It's just like, and that's unfortunately a negative, you know, Olympic record from the jukebox that drops.
For sure.
Where, you know, should I stay or should I go? You know what I mean? Literally, it's like, and that's not a part of, and it's easier to hold on to grudges sometimes because they're comfortable and you're familiar with them.
Right.
It's a familiarity.
But you're right. It is easier because it's harder. That's why I think forgiveness, is difficult for some of us, because you have to actually, you know, I think you have to be vulnerable, but you have to like think about the situation and be open to like the forgiveness aspect of it. You know what I mean? It's not just like you can't just be like, all right, yeah, I forgive you. And it's like, it's something that could, you know, I think you have to really, it's part of forgiveness. It would be like letting go. Right?
Yeah, and letting go is not something that's in my DNA. That's why I sink. Yeah. I don't float because I can't. It's hard to let go, man. It's hard to trust. It's hard to trust the process, and I think that's part of forgiving too. Is that you have to trust the process.
Well, it's funny because I just came across, and I was going to send this to you, but it was like right before I left to come here. I'll just read it instead of show it to you, but it was a meme I saw, and it said, "In a world where it is hard to trust anything, always trust your journey."
Oh, yeah, wow.
I saved it because I was like, that's
I can see that.
Yeah.
There's some wisdom in there,
for
man.
Sure. You know what I mean? Because it's I think it's kind of letting go of focusing on maybe, you know, not if you don't trust as a bigger thing. You don't trust anybody or anything in the world. And then, you know what, let me let go of this huge ball and just hold on to one smaller one and say, I'm going to hold this and trust the journey.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
It might be a little bit easier to handle.
I think in trusting the journey, though, you have to have some of your self-control. You have to be willing. And you have to have some social intelligence too.
That's why I put that on like the list of. I feel like these are things that again should be touched on in school in the education, because these, you know, as a young child, putting these kind of strengths in, you know, instilling in these kids, you know, you can't put a price on this. You know, just like self-love. You know, if you get a good, solid self-love foundation, I mean, you can't put a price on that.
No, you can't. But it has to be an accurate, like it has to be a legitimate thing. And I think that it's hard when I think it's hard to understand self-love all the time when you may feel it at one point and then as life beats you down, and
but I think again, like bringing self-control, emotions, talking about these things, at least you can get rid of that anchor of not understanding it and just, you know, either I don't understand it, so I'm going to shelf it or bury it, throw it down deep and let it build up, you know, until you're older, and then, you know,
and then it eats your heart,
right? That's what I mean. So just you know, throw it out there that let's learn about these things, at least so you know kind of what the definition is and what it entails, you know, all these things, and you'll just have a better understanding. Even just, you know, making friends with your demon, naming your demons or whatever you got to do. Just doing that little task can have a big effect, a positive effect.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Creativity is a big one.
I should have put that on mine.
And creativity is a big one for me because I find that creativity draws you to a purpose oftentimes, because that creativity fires that purpose a lot of times.
Yeah, creativity, I think it just, like, I don't know what the word, like, encompasses so many valuable things that you can towards your well-being. You know, it's just it's like you know, it's like eating like 4 foods that are really good for you.
Sure,
you know,
together, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
it's
it's one of those things that it can lift you up. It can help you find a purpose. You know, it does things. You know, I think our brains need some kind of creativity to. You need some kind of creative outlet. You know.
Yes, I believe everybody should have a creative outlet, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
They need a creative outlet, and I find when I'm in my creative outlets and able to fulfill those, I mean, it grounds you, I would think, right? For me, it does. It really does. And I didn't, you don't realize what you need until you realize you don't have it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And it's hard to get it back sometimes. Now, luckily for me, knock on wood, my creativity has not diminished.
Nice.
It does confound me sometimes, because obviously we've talked about this, where maybe I have a little bit of ADHD, and it was told to me that when I had diagnosed, bipolar the first time, that I probably have some ADHD, because I definitely have a hard time. I have creative ideas. I have many.
Yeah.
It's actually getting them, like, to fruition or to some sort of momentum to build and keep building on them. And because what happens is that negative self-loop plays in, and it's like, you're not good. Why are you thinking? Well, you can't do that. Everybody else is doing it already. They're doing it better than you. But you got to hang on to the strengths, man. That's why I chose hope. And I choose hope a lot. And hope, I know hope is a buzzword, and it is to a degree. But I didn't realize what hope really was until I didn't have any. And then as I started to find it again. And that you can
realize how important it is.
You realize how important having some sort of hope is. And it doesn't matter if it's just hoping, that it doesn't rain. Like, it's very important to have something. It's important to have an anchor to keep you in the storms from flying out into the ocean, man. Yeah. And hope can be that anchor. And we've kind of coined the phrase curators of hope, because I tend to I like that, and I think that we curate these stories and we talk about these things, and because I think by talking about them, we show other people that if you're not hopeful, then you can find hope. And maybe if you're not right now, you will.
Right.
Because we all can.
Yeah, it's there. I mean, you just have to, do a little work sometimes, some people more than others. But, it's, I guess, even before hope, I don't know what it would be, but to have that drive to find hope, Well, yeah, the drive to find hope is, that you have to, I think drive is important, man. And I don't know if you would put that under, is drive part of self-control? Is drive part of zest? Is drive part of grit? That's kind of like one of those things. What do they have written down for zest?
Well, zest is approaching life with excitement and energy, feeling alive and activated. And I got to tell you, man, my zest has, I'm not zestfully clean. I'm just not,
Yeah. I think something like that is great to put on there. It's definitely needed on that list, but I think there's things on there that are needed before that are needed to be put in place, and then that can follow. Like
a staircase.
Building the staircase. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I could see that, because I think that zest is something that may come at the end of a bunch of these things, because a lot of these character strengths are actually building blocks, because
Sure.
I think you need one of them to get to the next one, and you need, because obviously if you don't have any hope and you're stuck in despair, well, then you're not going to get out of despair without some hope. You have to find something. Something has to crack that bell to let the light in.
Yep.
And it's not always easy to find.
And
but
you know, it's funny though, because as you're saying that, I'm thinking, and I've been in there. I've been in that position where I'm like, I don't have any hope. But as you were saying that, and as I'm thinking, like, there has to be a little teeny weeny bit of hope in order to kind of say to yourself, like, I need more hope.
Yeah, well, again, I don't think the hope tank is ever fully empty until you cannot produce hope anymore. And I don't necessarily know if and I don't know if that means, and I'm not, there's no connotation there to one thing, but I think in order to start the process, you have to have at least, your hope might be on E or close to it, but there's always that gallon left, or there's always that reserve, man. There's always that reserve when you're rolling down the highway, even though your tanks are going.
Yeah.
And
then you go, Jesus.
Yeah, and then you look down, and your next thing you know, you're in a mailbox, like I was.
Interesting. That's interesting, these strengths.
Yeah, like there's a couple of them on here that are like citizenship.
Okay.
Fairness. Fairness is a tough one though, because nothing is ever fair, and I think it's hard. It's fine if that's a character, if you play fair, but you also have to understand that not everybody does,
right?
And you have to be willing to accept.
Just because
that.
You play fair doesn't mean that people are going to play fair.
Right, or it doesn't mean that they're going to give a shit that you played fair.
Right,
either,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Leadership is something that
it's funny. I was gonna put that on the list that I think are important, but I felt like these are skills that I feel you need to have to be a leader. So it was more, I don't know. It was
I get that.
That's how I did it in my head. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get that. I totally get that. Appreciation of beauty.
I wonder can you read that? Because how is that very different from gratitude?
Noticing and appreciating all kinds of beauty and excellence.
Okay.
I think it takes an awful strong person to appreciate all beauty, because again, like, some people don't have that ability to not be jealous, or to not feel like they wish they were, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, appreciation of beauty. Like, when I think of appreciation of beauty, I'm thinking about appreciating like art.
Right.
Appreciating. I mean, beautiful people are you can appreciate beautiful people for sure, but again, like, what are we talking about? Are we talking about physical looks? Are we talking about art? Are we talking about? I think beauty is and they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I get why. Because everybody looks at things. Yeah, it's relative. It's relative to what you see, and it's relative to your, it's relative to your goggles.
Right.
Spirituality was and this is one that I have struggled with for a very long time. I'm finally coming back to spiritual practices. In recent weeks, I've started a practice called Yoga Nidra. And I've been listening to Yoga Nidra meditations to go to bed.
Nice.
And it's more body scan.
Nice.
Really, that's what they really are, is body scan and trying to relax. But I'm not quite understanding of it yet.
No.
I'm still I don't know if it's.
Do you find yourself like, I don't know how it goes, but do you find yourself like, whether at night or wherever, if it says like kind of scan your body and check your shoulder, like do you notice any of that? Like I notice it myself when I'm like, and then sometimes I'm not even like, at least I don't feel like I'm stressed or something, but sometimes I'll just tighten up.
Yes, and I know when I'm cobraing, what I call cobraing, because my shoulders go up, and I can feel it. Like I can literally feel it sometimes where my shoulders.
See, sometimes I don't realize
just
that
go
I
up,
do it.
but that doesn't stop me from doing it.
Right.
But I do settle in sometimes, and I'm very good visualizer. I'm very fortunate that way, that if I really like close my eyes and get myself in, I can visualize.
Yeah, that's good. Like
I have no problem with visualization, and I'm a very visual person, and I can tap into those feelings. But it's hard to dissipate the inner knot oftentimes.
Yeah.
Like I can feel the energy move, like when they talk about starting your toe and feel it come up.
Right.
Like I can feel that. Now I may not be seeing the golden ball that they're talking about, but I can feel the energy move. But it's not always super strong. Sometimes it's weak.
That's
but
all
it's
right. Yeah,
but it's just there.
Yeah. I think what's most important is that you keep the practice going. Whether it's if it's strong or it's not, just keep that practice going. And I think it'll kind of prove to work in the long run, whether you're feeling, however the intensity is that you're feeling during the process.
Well, the energy will build the energy. So it's, and the energy will get on the energy. It'll just, it just will. It does. And I'm confident in that. I can tap into certain parts of my chi flowing. Like I can feel it at times. Yeah. I started doing some Hatha Yoga recently too. I don't do it every day, but I'm starting to learn some of the positions and stuff. And I have to say, I'm not, it's not like Qigong to me. Like Qigong to me is a really fluid sort of feel. Like I can really feel a difference when I do the 8 brocades and stuff. But I've been trying a little bit of yoga because I just needed something different to keep going. But I don't have the spiritual part of yoga. Like I'm not into the Yoga Sutras. Like I don't know much about.
Nah, neither do I. I just like the breathing and
I do love the breathing.
The breathing aspect of it, where you're just being aware and concentrating on the breathing and obviously some of those stretches and poses are open you up and are good for your whole whatever.
They are. They're good for movement. They're good for stress relief. They really are.
Right. We have actually next couple of weeks we'll probably be seeing. We have some upcoming interviews with some energy healers.
Yeah, those will be really awesome. Yeah, and within the next couple of weeks, we've got some really cool interviews coming up, going into March. What are your character strengths? Have you looked at your character strengths? Are you afraid to look at your character strengths? Please don't be, because there's gold in there, man. Don't be.
Yeah, I mean the what is there the kind of the standard that they go by is like 24.
Yeah, they go by 24.
Right,
but
so there's something in there for everybody.
Absolutely, there's something in there for everybody. There's always something in everything for everybody.
True.
Sometimes you just gotta dig through the cutout bin a little further, man, to get that record that you want. And maybe it's not there this week. It'll be on sale for $99 next week.
Yeah, that's right.
As always, thank you so much for listening. We're off to 2022 is off to a roaring start, man. We look forward to sharing more and more with you. The summer, July 22nd, I believe it is Nipper Fest in Schenectady at the Central Park Music Haven. And Above Ground Podcast will be there with a resource table. And I believe there's going to be another upstate punk rock flea market in the spring. So hopefully we'll be there again for that. We seem to get some really good really good stuff out of that.
Yeah, that's about it, right? I mean, check the socials. You can email us at the show, abovegroundpodcast@gmail.com. If you like what you're hearing, we also have a Buy Me a Coffee now.
Yeah, buy me a coffee, man. Above Ground Pod at Buy Me a Coffee / Above Ground Pod. You can buy us a coffee. You can support the show. We're hoping to do some really cool stuff on there come spring, come summer. Also, I was trying to, I believe we have a new review on Apple that I was trying to find here.
You know what? You're right. We do have a new review. It's from, let me see. Hold on. It is from Kara Conaway, if I'm saying her name correctly. She left us a really positive 5-star review. Says, I really enjoyed listening to your episode on the self-love practices you use in your life to take care of yourselves and to cultivate worthiness. The more we use our voices to share what we've learned, the more we grow ourselves and the more we can help others too. I hope you both continue sharing your wisdom in this way. So thank you very much, Kara, for the very, very, very nice review.
Yeah, thank you so much. I can't express our gratitude as much.
She's a fellow mental health advocate too. So we thank her for what she does and what she puts out there as well.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get her on the show at some point, man.
That's right.
We've kind of been talking back and forth. So thank you very much for listening as always. Don't be shy. Send us an email at abovegroundpodcast@gmail.com. And, find us, talk about us, or, whatever. But thank you so much for listening as always. And until next week, be well.
Be safe.
Be
above.